And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, Smash Up is one of my favorite games. I like the idea of putting two decks together and fighting somebody else. Dinosaurs and aliens, ghosts and vampires. But the problem is, they keep coming out with expansions for it. Now that's not a problem because the expansions are cheap and they add lots of fun. But this box is starting to get burst. You know, there's not much more room. There's barely any room in the box as it is. You have to throw the insert out to put everything in if you want to use all the sets. Well, I'm assuming they're going to keep coming out with sets, and now they have the big Geeky box. Now when you buy this, it's going to feel fairly light, because in this is pretty much nothing. Some dividers and one new faction, a Geek faction based on Will Wheaton's tabletop group and his show. Other than that, there's nothing else in here, but it's a box that can hold everything that you have for for Smash Up. So you get one new faction, some dividers, and the box. Not very expensive, actually. Is it worth it? Well, let's look at the faction and the box itself. Okay, first thing we're going to do is look at some of the cards in the new Geeks deck. This first one's called Rules Lawyer, and honestly, I almost want to say that the deck could have been named Rules Lawyering, because that's what the deck kind of feels like. Here you can move an action to another base, or transfer an action put in a minion to another minion, which can be really deadly when someone kills one of your minions and you kill one of theirs instead. Or it forces a will. When someone plays an action, you discard it. It has no effect. Or look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can draw them, as many as you want, and shuffle the rest of your hand into your deck. Well, I'm sorry, you can basically switch hands with your deck. This is a cool card, especially when you only have one card in your hand. A non-infinite loop, which is also a cool card because it features Paul Peterson, who is the designer of this game. Here you choose an action, and you can play it, and then basically put it back in your hand. So it lets you do an action twice, which is really good when you mix them with one of the decks that has some really good action cards. I'm thinking like a Victory Point. Play this with a Victory Point card, and you get to play another Victory Point card. A Griefer. Each other person has to either discard a random card, destroy a minion, or shuffle their discard pile back into their deck, and you pick which one. The min-maxing. You can look at someone else's hand, play an action from their hand. That is amazingly powerful, and it's really annoying to your opponents. Ban list. Each player, you name a card, look at their hands, they have to place any copies of that card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. Now this is almost an unfair card if you play against the Innsmouth people, because you can destroy almost their entire hand if they're not careful. But still, hey, that's the price you pay, and it's a cool card. Control minion. Choose a minion, you control that minion. So basically you can take control of someone else's minion, you can even play it out of turn. So that dinosaur, he's my dinosaur now. Cosplay, play this when you get a victory point, get an extra victory point. Okay, useful thing. I don't know how that gives you victory points though. Discard a card from your hand to draw a card. This is the basic character for this deck, the Fan. Then we have the Game Guru, Bo. He's not affected by other players' abilities, which can be really useful. Will Wheaton himself, you can play him when someone else plays an action. So you play him, he cancels the action, and he's on the table as a 4. And then Felicia Day, move all minions to this base. This is kind of a crazy card, because essentially everybody moves to the base she's at. Everyone goes to the party that Felicia is throwing, and it kind of clears the board, and also almost always will finish the base that Miss Day is at. There's also a couple location cards. We have the Con. I'm going to call it Gen Con. When a minion's played there, other minions at faction get +1 power until the end of the turn, which can really snowball and be pretty powerful. This doesn't stay out very long. And then tabletop, the winner draws 3 cards, then discards 2 cards. Okay, so let's see what's inside the box now. It's actually a very sturdy box. And here is the box that I have now. Now the only thing about this box is these dividers come up to the top. They're very thick cardboard dividers. So the only way to get the rules in is by bending them and putting them in. And that's not a huge deal to me, but who knows. And you'll notice that I have every single card from all the sets, and it's taking up less than 1/3 of this box, which means they can really go far with this. Now what this box has is it has dividers. So for example, here's a dinosaur divider, but these are without doubt the best dividers that any company has ever made. They're plastic. See that? Wow. Great quality. And my only concern and hope is that AEG will continue to publish these dividers with each new expansion that they do, because these are really that fantastic. I like them. They're easy to see, and you can go through and look for whatever faction is that you're looking for. They got a divider for Madness from the Cthulhu one, and then a divider for bases. And then it also comes with these foam pieces. These are here to keep everything in place. So like I have a foam piece, you can put them in any way because they really stick in with the walls. I have one behind these cards to keep these cards from moving. Then I have a bag here with all the different tokens for the game. So everything stores pretty well. And when you put the lid on, it's a very sturdy thing. Let's flip it upside down to see what happens. And then sideways, and then this way, and then that way. That's the Vasel stress test. And the cards seem to have done okay. Pretty cool. I'll admit, I probably would have got this just for the box alone and the dividers. Really cool. The Geek faction is fine, and they did a good job, especially with the artwork and such. I was concerned, and still have a little bit of concern, about how the Geeks, I feel is almost a little meta. I don't know how else to explain it. Yes, everything in this game is silliness and nonsense anyway, but when I'm mixing vampires with giant ants or mad scientists with Cthulhu, that's all silly and thematic and stuff. Here I'm adding in real life people, which just, I don't know, it could take you out a little bit. Fortunately, the artwork matches everything else, so it can go in. Robot Geeks makes sense-ish, I guess. But anyhow, the new faction the new faction's powers and stuff, those are cool. And I can see a lot of people picking them for that, because it's the ultimate stick-it-to-your-opponent type faction. The dividers are great. Like I said, I hope AEG releases those dividers in all their expansions. The box itself is fine. I mean, it's big, it's bulky, and it's really firm box. I'm really impressed with that. I got to find some place on my shelf to keep it because I really like Smash Up, and it's staying in my collection. And I'm excited because how big this is, that means there's going to be tons. I mean, if Smash Up stopped producing today, come on, there's so many different matchups of factions that you can do as it is. But, I mean, come on, we can always use more factions, right? And we're kind of guaranteed they're coming now with this box, right? Right, AEG, right?
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Hey, shut the door!